exercise. I do love to ride a bike, road bike, mountain bike. This weather, hot, cold, yin yang, it just doesn't work. I don't know, I just don't like the cold weather when I'm riding. Who likes barbecued ribs? To me, in my opinion, barbecued ribs are the holy grail of all barbecue. Tender and juicy ribs will not only win the hearts, but the stomachs of all your friends and family for eternity. I will give you the keys to preparing fabulous barbecue ribs. But be warned, with great barbecue success comes great responsibility.
Oh, man.
First, what kind of ribs do you buy? Well, we're talking pork ribs here. Beef has a special place. Pork is where it's at. I like to buy spare ribs. I think spare ribs have a little bit better flavor. Some people buy the St. Louis cut. Well, all that is taking a piece of the breastplate, bone, cartilage thing, and chopping that off, and you have St. Louis cut spare ribs. Next, you get your crock pot out. I see some faces. There's no crock pot in this recipe. We're smoking here. Fire up that smoker. I like to use, for my wood, I like to use a little bit of apple and some quality oak charcoal. I think apple gives a really nice sweetness and has a really nice aroma. Flavors the meat really well. You can use cherry, pecan, oak, plum. You can use a lot of different types of woods. Just steer clear of hickory, mesquite. I know a lot of Texans would probably cringe at the sound of that, but mesquite and hickory, they're really powerful smokes. You don't want to overwhelm the delicateness of pork. Allow your smoker to get up to 225, 250 degrees. That is the prime temperature. I shoot for right in the middle, 235. Barbecue takes a long time at this temperature. It's not succinct. Mae West said, and I agree with her, and maybe she wasn't talking about barbecue. She said, anything worth doing is worth doing slowly. So you take your ribs, bring them home, pull them out of the cryovac. There's a little membrane on the back of the ribs. You pull that membrane off. If you have a hard time, you take a butter knife and you wiggle it in between the bone and the membrane and you peel it off. It comes off. The next thing you do is you put a good amount of olive oil all over the ribs. This helps the rub stick to the ribs. A lot of people swear by mustard, yellow mustard, and you know what? I've done that, and it doesn't impart a funky mustard taste to the ribs. It's just a way for the rub to stick to the meat better. Now it's time for the rub. The rub consists of 4 main ingredients: salt, black pepper, brown sugar, paprika. Paprika is not really a flavor, it's more of a color. But it's okay. But still use it. I also use a bunch of different other spices too. I like to use garlic, for instance. Granulated garlic, onion powder, ginger powder, believe it or not. The different spices for heat like cayenne and chili powders. All work good, but stick to those 4 main ingredients. And for ribs, we're gonna stay with, I like them a little bit sweet. So a little bit less salt, a little more brown sugar is the way I like to sprinkle my ribs. So you sprinkle it on. You don't want to pack on the rub. The reason why is because you don't want to overwhelm it with spices. You don't want to overwhelm it with flavors. The meat is good on its own, but this just enhances it. Once your smoker is ready, if you have 2 racks, this is the best part. You put a big old container full of baked beans on the lower rack, and then you put your ribs on top of the upper rack, and this allows the juices to just kind of drip into the baked beans and just create an awesome goodness. Grab a 6-pack of your favorite ice cold beverage and kind of sit down for a while. It takes a long time. Some of you might need a little more than that. After a few hours, the ribs have formed a really nice bark. What is bark? Bark is where meat and rub and smoke combine into heaven. How do you know when the ribs are done? You know they're done when you keep, okay, first, properly cooked ribs don't fall off the bone. They pull off the bone when you bite into them. There's a big difference there. So to know that they're done, you pick them up with some tongs on the ends. You can pick them up and give a little bounce. If the meat cracks there where the tongs are holding on the meat, then they're probably done. If there's some tenderness, if they're stiff still, leave them on for a little bit longer. Now it's time for the sauce. I like to use a sweet sauce on mine because I think the sweetness counteracts the saltiness and it just has a yumminess to it, the sweet and salt kind of thing. Remove the ribs, serve with a sweet coleslaw, like Kentucky Fried Chicken coleslaw, potato salad, and those baked beans that were basted in those wonderful rib juices. I have just given you the keys to making mouth-watering ribs. Choose the right ribs and wood and rubs, and you will be the biggest fan of your friends and family forever. Remember, I warned you, with great barbecue success comes great responsibility. You and I will be cooking these ribs forever. But this is a badge of honor, and one you should be proud to wear.
Thank you, Chris. Now you've made us all hungry.
That was my goal.
Yeah.
Go ahead and write some feedback for Chris. Take a couple minutes to do that. Meanwhile, Jamie is going to be coming up to do the table topics. And if she can introduce or explain what the table topics are.